Connection, respect, sense of being seen and heard and appreciated, closeness, intimacy. We all long for our relationships to be healthy and happy. We all want the fulfillment and joy that they can bring us. And we all know that if our relationships go awry, it has huge impact on our life. It can literally make us physically and emotionally sick. Hi, my name is Kasia Kolek. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and women's holistic coach. And for the last 15 years, I have been supporting highly sensitive, empathetic women to fall back in love with themselves, to build rock solid confidence, and to create thriving relationships. And today I want to tell you about a secret that has huge potential, a secret to building healthy and happy relationships that has huge potential, but is so seldom talked about. When women come to me for one-on-one sessions and they struggle in their relationships, they are usually very worried about all the conflicts and misunderstandings and miscommunications that they have in their relationship with their partner, with their friends, with other family members, with co-workers, in all the different kinds of relationships that we have in our life. But all of these disconnections, even if they are quite frequent, are not a cause for worry, not the real cause for worry. We have a very nice name for all of these disconnections in psychology. We'll call them ruptures. And ruptures are unavoidable. Conflicts, disagreements, misunderstanding, hurt happens in all of our relationships. And it is a natural, it is a necessary, and this is even a healthy part of our relationships under two conditions. So whenever you catch yourself like worrying about all of these disconnections that happen in your relationships, I would like you to ask yourself two questions. Because if you find the answer to these two questions, then all of these ruptures can actually strengthen your relationships. They can actually facilitate closeness and intimacy, and they can build trust and safety, which are necessary in any relationship to be thriving. So the first question is, how do we treat each other in the middle of the rupture? That is actually, the foundation, the most important thing. In a healthy relationship, we can treat each other with respect, even if we disagree, even if we are upset or angry with each other. We can still hold on to the respect. So this is a foundation that we always need to have in place, creating and maintaining this non-violence zone. So this is the first step. But then there is something more which is equally or sometimes even more important. So the second question is, what happens after a rupture? If you want to create healthy and happy relationships, this is something you need to pay very close attention to. Because if you are anyway like me, and this is, I think, very characteristic for us highly sensitive women, yes, that the situation of rupture, of conflict or misunderstanding can feel a bit overwhelming. Yes, can feel like too much for us. So it is very tempting to just move on, to pretend that nothing happened, to just let everything go. And quite often we dismiss our sense, our deep inner feeling that what happened was not right. Quite often we explain, justify, rationalize, find excuses for the other person's behavior. Quite often we try to forget about the whole thing as soon as possible because we say we just want peace and quiet, right? Um, but the truth is that we also deeply long for close, authentic, deep relationships, right? So the question is, which do you want more? The key to having healthy and happy relationships in your life is to learn these repair skills, the skills to repair the connection after it was ruptured. Because just think for a moment what happens if you do not learn this. If you believe that repair is not possible, if you believe that repair is too much hassle, then the only way out is to avoid rupture at any cost possible, right? So you start to avoid all kinds of conflicts, misunderstandings, miscommunications, and you start to play it safe. Now, the moment you start to play it safe, something else happens, right? You stop to show up in your relationships uh, authentically, honestly, as you. And it has far-reaching consequences as well, because the moment you stop showing up, you also stop feeling like you're seen, like you're heard, like you're witnessed or known, like you're valued or loved for who you truly are. So that's not a good scenario, right? So I really want to tell you today that repair is possible. It's just a few skills that you need to learn, and it's much less difficult and less overwhelming than you might imagine. And I want to tell you 5 skills or 5 things that are necessary to do after a rupture to rebuild, reconnect with the other person. But before I go there, I just want to remind you that we dive much deeper and we get much more practical on my 50 Days to Healthy Love program, and we are just about to open the doors again. So please put your name on the wait list. There is a link in the description, and you will be first to know once we open the doors again. This is a great opportunity to learn or to transform all of your relationship skills in just 50 days in less than 30 minutes a day. So make sure you are on the list not to miss it. Now, 5 things that you need to do to repair the connection after a rupture. So the first thing always is to acknowledge, right? To name what happened. This is always like the first step to have a open and honest conversation about what happened. And in the 50 Days to Healthy Love program, we also learn I statements, which is one of the best ways to communicate to the other person things that might be a bit difficult, uneasy, or triggering, so that they do not go straight into the defense mode, right? And also the way to listen in the same way. So this is the first step, to name and to acknowledge what happened. Then what needs to happen is taking responsibility, right? Owning your own part. There is always your part, I promise you. It might be very little. Sometimes the other person's part is 95%, and your part is 5%, but it always takes two to tango. So it's really helpful if you can own your part, no matter how small it can be. Now, number 3, uh, have a conversation about how this impacted both of you. And this means both being very honest and open about how you experienced this rupture, and also being able to listen without any judgment and with curiosity to how the other person experienced the incident as well. Then talk about how it was co-created. And this is kind of the essence of this process here, and is very, very important. I'm sure you've noticed that with some people, we tend to have the same argument over and over again. So that's why it's so important to pay attention to how we co-create certain scenarios that might be repeated over and over again in our relationships. There are certain patterns, there are certain autopilots always. And if we can talk about it, that's always the first step to notice and to stop dancing, these dances that create so much hurt and pain for both of us. And then the last thing, but a very important thing as well, is to plan what to do next. Yes, what can we do differently moving forward to avoid ruptures like this in future? And I promise you, like the moment you start having these repair processes after your conflicts or misunderstandings, and the best way to is to start with little misunderstandings, yes, with situations that are not huge, not very intense, but little things that feel not right, that make you disconnect a bit, and start practicing there before you move to huge conflicts or disagreements. But we will see very, very quickly how powerful this process is, and how it rebuilds trust, how it creates and brings more safety into the relationships. And whenever you have safety and trust, closeness and intimacy starts to be much more possible in this relationship. So I really encourage you to give it a go. And also, in the situations when you get stuck, these are all new skills that we are learning, and sometimes we've been conditioned to do something completely different for a very long time. So at any time you get stuck, make sure you will reach out for support. There is no need to try to figure out stuff on your own. So please just reach out, and there are skills and techniques and tools that you can use to move through your obstacles in a much more easier way. And for now, just please let me know in the comments how that lands. Make sure to subscribe to my channel not to miss future videos. And I really encourage you to put your name on the waiting list for the 50 Days to Healthy Love program. You'll be the first to know when we open the doors. Thank you.